Some of you have heard this before, some of you haven't. Either way, I think it's a good reminder of what we have here and what we can help people do in the gym and outside of the gym. The founder of CrossFit kind of went through this during COVID. His name's Greg Glassman. He's got a new initiative. It's called the Broken Science Initiative. If you have not heard of that, I would look them up on Instagram, YouTube. So he basically laid out that there's 5 buckets that you can fall into in ways to die. There's chronic disease, there's microbic, there's genetic factors, there's kinetic, and then there's toxic. In the chronic disease bucket, you have 80 to 90% of insurance dollars going there. That makes up 70 to 80% of deaths in the United States. In the other 4 buckets, you have 14 to 20% of insurance spend, and then you have 20 to 30% of deaths. You can look those numbers up on the CDC's website, and depending on what year you look at, it will vary. I will say that during COVID, the chronic disease bucket, those numbers, they shifted from here to the microbic bucket, but really all that happened was COVID jumped from that bucket into here and started a fire. Because the majority of people dying from COVID had 2 or 3 comorbidities which were related to chronic disease. So chronic disease, what is that? You have your type 2 diabetes, you have heart disease, you have hypertension, high blood pressure, which is what I had prior to doing all this stuff. Alzheimer's, cancer, kidney disease. Microbic, you have the COVID, H1N1, genetic sickle cell, cystic fibrosis, kinetic, gunshot, car accident, fire, and then in the toxic, you have like your drugs, alcohol. You could probably name a bunch of other things that could fall in there, right? The difference between this one and those 4, you have a line there, okay? That's called the willful divide. You can't really control those things, right? Over here, you can control this. They're all lifestyle choices. So depending on what you choose to do you choose to go sit at the bar and drink and eat pizza, drink pop, or do you choose to come in here 4 to 6 days a week and concentrate on your nutrition? That's going to depend on where you're going to fall. It is sad. I wrote that up here. That's how you get into this bucket. It's the standard American diet, right? Lifestyle choices. What are you doing? How are you spending your time? So the cure is constantly varied functional movements executed at a high intensity. And you pair that with meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar. Those 2 things, you avoid that a lot of the time. Functional movements executed at a high intensity. What does that mean? CrossFit. You're doing stuff that's you're going to see in your everyday life. It's going to apply to other things. That's why we have the hierarchy of development. Nutrition, that's the base. 23 hours out of your day. What are you doing in those 23 hours? What are you putting in your mouth? You have to drive past 100 fast food restaurants to get here. Are you stopping there, or do you have a plan when you get home? Metabolic conditioning, that's what you just did, right? Short duration, high intensity workout. You were probably on that bike for less than 3 or 4 minutes, depending on how fast you went today. That's why we work the short time domains, the medium, and then the long, because that's going to do different things to your metabolism based on what we're doing for that day. It's all applicable to real life. You're going to get better just by coming in here and focusing on this stuff. Does anybody have any questions for me?
The last 4 months or so since I've been coming here, my sugars have been better than they've ever been. I don't have to take my I used to have to take long lasting in the morning, and then throughout the day, no matter what, I always have to take at least something. I'm down an hour. Usually in the morning, because I don't know what it is, the morning usually seems to run a little bit higher, but like once lunchtime comes around, I haven't had to be taking it, and depending on if I get to come here at night or in the morning, the nights even nothing more very good. they've been better, steadily better over the last few months.
That's awesome. Sugar numbers decreasing. Awesome.
Makes me feel better 'cause I hate poking myself.
I wouldn't want to poke myself every day either.
Yeah.
But that's literally real life application of what you're doing inside and outside of the gym. So you should give yourself a lot of credit for that. I know you're working hard at both of it, so you got to give yourself props, man. That's awesome.